Hey guys, and welcome back to the Game Not Game podcast. My name is Green, and with me, as always, is my co-host Zen from his channel Zen and Cyrene. How you doing, Zen?
I am feeling pretty good.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Here we go.
Right off the bat with your fucking pun. Oh man, I saw your that's a more pun on Twitter. That was fucking masterful. It's on Valentine's Day. This guy sends a really, stupid, punny Valentine's card to Zen that says, I really like you. And Zen, without missing a beat, is like, that's amore. Fucking this guy with the pun. Anyway, why don't you tell us why you just made a cheese pun, Zen?
Well, because I wanted to talk about the FDA's most recent activity busting nefarious cheese counterfeiters.
Oh shit, that's right. Dude, Katie and I found this story. Sorry, Zen didn't actually tell me what the story was before the podcast, but I independently know about this story too.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so what it is that the FDA raided a cheese factory, or did a surprise visit anyway. I don't think they went in guns blazing or anything. And they found evidence that...
I hope they did.
Yeah, they came, drop your cheese!
And then the employees in the factory were like, cheese it, it's the cops!
Yes, exactly. Oh my god. This topic is
the worst
just
podcast
right
in the world.
Yeah, really. But yes, they found that the company was doctoring its 100% quote-unquote real Parmesan cheese with cut-rate substitutes and such fillers as wood pulp, and then distributing it to the country's biggest grocery chains. I am reading off of Bloomberg here just to make sure I get my attribution right. So yes, apparently some people have been feeling, or some cheese manufacturers have been filling cheese products with too much cellulose, which is made from wood pulp, or using cheaper cheeses instead of via more expensive cheeses from Europe. Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's a big issue too, because if all of the cheap Parmesan manufacturers are doing this because they can get away with it, that means any legitimate Parmesan on the market just gets driven out by the higher price stuff.
Exactly.
You know, if you have the choice between paying $8 or $4 for Parmesan and both say 100% real Parmesan on them, what are you going to do? When in fact it's just an absolute lie.
Right.
It's real Parmesan.
Yeah, nope. It's Parmesan fortified with fiber. Is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of them, I think it was Walmart that was selling Parmesan cheese that had no Parmesan whatsoever in it. It was like mozzarella, cheddar, something else, and cellulose. Like just a bunch of other white cheeses.
Mm-hmm.
Because who knows the difference, right? I don't think that one was marketed as 100% real Parmesan, but still, it was in fact 0% Parmesan.
Right. I mean, food labeling in the United States is just very interesting, and when I say that, also very weird in general. Like, I know you know as well as I do that most craft cheeses cannot be legally labeled as cheese, right? It's a cheese product.
Interestingly, Kraft Parmesan cheese was the only Parmesan cheese that within a sample of cheap Parmesan cheeses that actually adhered to FDA guidelines in terms of the amount of cellulose you're supposed to put in it. You're supposed to have between 3 and 4%, I think, and they had 3.3%, and everybody else was 8%, 9%.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why Kraft would stick to... I mean, I have an idea. What I'm saying is that I don't know if that's the reason why, because I don't work in Kraft, but I kind of feel like the reason they can do it is, number one, they're a huge multinational company with the resources to actually be able to buy ingredients and not have to cut corners, for one thing. And they also are probably much more invested in their food safety / quality assurance programs, because bad things tend to happen if these companies don't. Bankruptcy, people getting sick or dying. So they actually spend a lot of money on that. Most food manufacturers do that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, though, cheese in general is serious business. People laugh at cheese, but it really is. Because a lot of these cheeses are super expensive. They sell for a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the interesting thing about Parmesan and other hard cheeses is what makes a cheese hard is the amount of moisture that leaves it, which is directly related to how much it costs to produce it. You put a gallon of milk into cheese production, you're going to get less Parmesan out of that milk than you would cheddar or mozzarella or other softer cheeses. So when you start making, quote unquote Parmesan cheese and making it half mozzarella, that amounts to a huge saving in materials.
Right, exactly. There's also all the other factors that go into it, of course, like the aging, but that's definitely a big part of it. I mean, it got to the point, and I need to verify this story because I haven't looked it up in a while, that if I'm correct about this, there was once a cheese factory in Europe, somewhere in Europe, in which the thieves cut a hole in the roof, just rappelled in there like ninja style, and made off with $1,000 wheels of cheese.
See, that's how you do it. The stupid thieves go to the Louvre or something, try to steal famous paintings or diamonds or something. You're not gonna have, how in movies you have to pull out your aerosol can and see the lasers and contort your body through them. You're not gonna run into any of that shit in a cheese factory. They don't give a shit. They don't expect anybody to break into the cheese factory. You're gonna get off scot-free.
I think they do now, but you're still not going to get the crazy lasers and motion detector stuff you would in the Louvre, right?
Sure.
Or somewhere like that.
Probably not, anyway. I guess it probably depends on the cheese manufacturer.
It probably would, yeah. I would like to see a Mission Impossible movie that has Tom Cruise going after a wheel of cheese.
See, I would watch that.
I would too.
That sounds really good. I want them to go really into the food science, too.
Yeah.
I want Jeff Goldblum to play a food scientist.
Oh my god, that would be so funny.
Oh, man.
Oh, god. Food science. Food science is one of those... I could go on and on about it, but it's just super interesting to me, and maybe I will find more topics related to that to talk about in a future podcast.
I hope so. I always love hearing you talk about food.
Yeah, man. But back to the cheese adulterated with the wood pulp. Let's see what else they had to say about that. Cellulose is a safe additive, of course it is, and like you said, acceptable level is 2 to 4%. And various people in this article say we're not doing anything bad. Everything is good. According to us, we are not aware of anything bad. For example, Target would say this cheese company was not an authorized Target vendor. So the usual kind of stuff of the big food safety scale. In this case, not really a food safety problem, but more of a, did you know your food contains this problem?
Yeah, it's not food safety, it's just food ripoff.
Yeah.
Which, again, is more important. It sounds silly, but that shit's important. If you want to be able to buy Parmesan cheese that isn't trash, you want this sort of thing to be regulated, because otherwise they're going to drive legitimate cheese vendors out of the market.
Yep.
You can't be competitive with a legitimately 100% Parmesan product if people can just label their product 100% Parmesan when it just has trash in it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, the Europeans are real mad about this, of course, as you've alluded to.
I'm sure, yeah, they make all the best cheese.
Yeah, the actual people who make Parmigiano Reggiano, the cheese that has to undergo certain conditions if it wants to be labeled as such, get mad because
right.
Parmesan is an offshoot of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the cheese story. What is your favorite cheese, by the way?
Oh, it's tough. Swiss is really good. Gouda is really good. Even a good sharp cheddar is really good.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of brie. I just like cheese, man.
Yeah.
Cheese is excellent. Probably, yeah. A good brie might be up there for me.
Yeah, good brie is good. Redundancy is redundant, but...
Well, it's important because, there's also bad brie.
Yeah, that's true.
Which very quickly becomes, I'd rather just have okay cheddar than bad brie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I like cheese in general, but I can't really buy it. Buy too many varieties of cheese because Cyrene has very specific taste in cheese, and if I buy kinds of cheese that she doesn't like to eat, then it becomes too much for me to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta just hide it in your glove compartment or something.
I've got to what?
Hide it in your glove compartment?
Oh, hide it in my glove compartment. Okay.
Yeah, just sneak some cheese, while you're driving. She doesn't need to know.
I heard hydrogen, your love department. And I was like,
there you go. Hydrogen, your love department, then. Yeah, Heisenberger marriage.
Heisenberg marriage? The more I look at her, the more she runs away from me? Like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right?
Oh, no, I was thinking about when they filled a blimp full of hydrogen instead of helium.
Oh, that's a Hindenburg.
That was Heisenberg, wasn't it?
Hindenburg.
Fuck me. Alright, I'm an idiot. Never mind. Bad joke.
You were going off in 100-year-old airships joke, and I was going off in quantum mechanics jokes. So, that's what you pay for on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. People who don't know the difference between two German names.
Hey, you guys, you are lucky that we didn't actually start going with some of the Italian cheeses. I would mess everything up. Because I'm just
Italian's
bad.
hard to pronounce.
Yeah, I'm just bad with pronouncing words that are not English. I'm bad at pronouncing English words sometimes. What was it? Oh, do you remember when I thought garçon was garçon?
I think so. When was that?
That was 3 years ago.
Was it during one of the accent challenges?
No, I was doing head to head.
Huh.
Yeah, I just remember all these random things. In terms of English, I used to say, what was it? Midgetate instead of mitigate.
Midgetate, that was a good one. Alright, anyway, do you have any more of non-gaming news?
I actually don't this week. The cheese thing was the thing that stuck up to me because all the social media, the news outlets on social media just kept tweeting it. Have you seen this article yet about the cheese? I have. You've tweeted it 4 times today.
That's funny. I saw it once and enjoyed reading it, and I haven't been notified of it again. Luckily for me, I guess.
Yep. But yeah, that is the only story that I remember wanting to talk about. But I will follow up on the food science thing and anything else that I did say I will follow up on, but I've forgotten to do that.
Alright, the food hour on Game Not Game.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, maybe. Or who knows, maybe in a month. Maybe never. We'll see. So also this week in gaming news, also this week, but in gaming news, Fallout 4 apparently did not realize how much work they were going to put into the DLC. So they had been selling a season pass for $30. And then they were like, shit, dude, we can't sell this for $30. So they're upping it. They're giving people a chance to buy it before it goes up. But March 1st, that's going up to $50. Which is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
The thing that strikes me, and I'm kind of stealing this thought from a tweet that I saw, but it's the fact that the publisher of the game, the developer of the game, was selling a season pass for content they knew so little about that they didn't know how much there was gonna be. They didn't know how much work it was gonna be. They're just like, yeah, we'll probably make $30 worth of DLC for this. Maybe. Who knows? And then they just made up a price and sold a season pass, and people are fucking buying this. They're buying content that not only doesn't exist, but so doesn't exist that nobody knew what it was going to be, including the people selling it.
I think
that's wild.
I think Bethesda has this interesting tendency because 6 months ago, however long it was ago, they released Fallout Shelter without realizing what it was actually going to do to them. Good things, but but they just released it as a thing. Oh yeah, we're going to try this, and then it blew the hell up and grossed millions of dollars for them.
Yeah, they were. I'm sure they were thinking it's just like, let's keep the hype train rolling for Fallout 4. You know, they didn't expect it to become a thing in its own right at all.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I can tell, like, it was just a little like mini game, so that between the announcement of Fallout 4 and all the cool shit that it was, what was that at E3?
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, it was at E3, I think. They were like, okay, here's a thing for you guys to do for a month or two until Fallout 4 comes out, so you don't fucking forget about it. Because the hype train is really important. Like, release day hype for a game is key. So they were thinking it's just worth the investment to make this throwaway game that people can play for a few months, just to keep the hype train rolling for their main release. And then nope, turns out it's just a huge thing on its own. People are gonna buy microtransactions forever for it. Weird.
Yep, weird, but good for them, really.
Mm-hmm.
Have you played it? Fallout Shelter.
I downloaded it. I opened it, and I never got into it. Like, I just barely started playing, and I was like, this is absolutely not my kind of game, and I stopped playing it.
Yeah, that was my experience too, to be very honest with you. I'm not
really?
much a fan of these kinds of, I guess, I'm not sure what the term is exactly, genre, like, builder game?
Management?
I mean, I kind of like them, but maybe it's just for the Fallout Shelter itself, because I don't know, I kind of like those. Like, for example, I did play Kairosoft's Pyramid shopping mall game, and I just built it all in, and I had no problems there. I don't know why I just couldn't get into Fallout Shelter.
Interesting. It had some weird mechanics to it. I know this not from playing it myself, but from listening to other people play it, which I actually enjoyed hearing stories about it. It's a good story game. But, yeah, like, it wasn't, like, you would have to take people and just send them out, and they would just wander around for a while and just come back whenever with a bunch of stuff from outside. That seemed weird to me. Like, that's outside the scope of a management game, generally speaking. You know, just having adventurers go off and get random loot. Or could they die out there? I can't even remember.
I think they can, but again, I'm going off of hearsay like you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Alright, so that's a game we haven't played.
That's a not game part, or not played game part of our podcast anyway.
Yeah, let's discuss games that we just have no personal experience with. We'll just rehash... Let's just rehash what Idle Thumb said about Fallout Shelter. How about that?
But with regards to the DLC, the season pass, a funny thing happened to me because I haven't finished Fallout 4 yet, even though I was so hyped to play it last year. And the reason for it is because I'm just so damn busy all the time that Fallout 4 is one of those games in which it doesn't feel satisfying to me to play it just for 1 hour. You could just barely get a couple of things done in 1 hour, right? You know, I have to play it for at least 2 to 3, and I kind of don't want to do that nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do want to finish it, and I look at this DLC pack, and I'm thinking, okay, on one hand, I don't know when I'll be able to get to these things, so maybe I should wait for the Steam sale in like 2 years or something. On the other hand, it's $30 now. I should get it now before it gets to $50. So they've got me in that stupid dilemma mode, and you know, and I haven't decided whether I want to buy into it for $30 now or just wait.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, still, you know, you're still at the end of the day paying for content that you don't know what it is. You don't know if you're gonna like it. You don't know if it exists yet. And Fallout 4 has already been on sale for like 25% off. Which is
really
almost unheard of. Huh. Yeah, in the Steam sale, it's consistently going on sale for way more than I would expect.
That's
so. Weird. If I had to wager a guess, I would say that next year or so, you'll probably be able to get the DLC at, the price that it was before the price hike. If I had to guess.
Yeah, but you know, when I think about it though, when I look at Skyrim and its history of sales over the last few years or so, Bethesda will always do this thing in which Skyrim will be $5 and then the DLC will be 10. You know, so
yeah, that's true. That is true. They keep their DLC valuable for some reason.
So I get the feeling they're doing they might be starting to do the same kind of thing with Fallout 4. Like we're going to see a steep discount for Fallout 4 as soon as the DLC comes out, and then the DLC will be like 10% off during the Steam sale or something.
I wonder. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Still, ultimately, you're gonna waste like $10. It probably doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Really, take the $50 that you would have spent on Fallout 4 DLC and put it in a savings account until you're ready for the Fallout 4 DLC, and the interest will probably make up for it.
Take that $50 and buy an emergency get out of town kit just in case the apocalypse actually hits. That's an investment in your future.
That's smarter.
Oh man, preppers, that's a topic.
Oh, what you should actually get is one of those Razer external graphics cards that they're coming out with, so that you can play Fallout 4 on your laptop while you're on the run from the apocalypse.
Have
you heard about those? The external graphics cards?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's a fascinating idea. It's just a USB, it's a big box with a graphics card and a cooling system in there. So you can have your lightweight little laptop and everything and use that whenever you're not playing games. But then if you want to turn your laptop into a pretty reasonable gaming machine, you can just, pull out this box and plug it into your laptop when you have desk space and put the box next to the laptop. And then, you can run whatever that graphics card can run. You could put a 980 in there or whatever.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. Because it's made by Razer, I'm sure it's going to be very expensive relative to the graphics card in there. But the technology, the technology is the sort of thing that could, expand the same way like external hard drives work, Like you could just hopefully at some point just buy a box and then stick your own graphics card in there and then it just works.
Yeah.
Neat idea.
Yeah. I should look that up. Well, honestly, I don't really need one if I'm going to be real honest with you, because, well,
sure.
Yeah, when I'm traveling, it's usually for business, or I plan to actually travel, or I plan to play on my tablet.
I think the target audience is probably people who only own a laptop computer. If you have a desktop, it's kind of redundant to buy another graphics card for your laptop. But if that's your main computer and you're one of those people who just tries really hard to run the new games on your shitty laptop, it's 20 FPS, then this is the dream for you, because when you're at home you can have a graphics card and you can still use your laptop for all your laptop-y things.
That's true.
When you're on the go.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea. Hopefully it becomes a thing so that people... I mean, I know Razer's going to be the first one out the gate or whatever, but eventually other manufacturers will step in and it'll become more reasonable. I hope, anyway.
Probably, yeah. I would be unsurprised if it took off. I would also be unsurprised if it's one of those technologies that it turns out there isn't that much of a market for and it gets buried, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. Well, hopefully it becomes a real thing. So
yeah, again, it's not the sort of thing I would use at all, but I can definitely see the utility of it.
Yeah. The last thing I was going to say about the Fallout 4 DLC is that Fallout New Vegas is my favorite game of last generation, as I've said before. But I never bought the Gunrunner's Arsenal DLC, the one that adds extra weapons or whatever, because I just never really saw the point of getting those weapons, But the issue for me is for one of the DLC, which we should probably talk about in a little bit more detail. So one of them is going to be an actual expansion in which you go to another place. I believe it's in the northeast coast of the United States somewhere. So that's one story. That's one DLC. The other two DLCs, which are cheaper, of course, one of them makes it so that you can craft your own robots and have them follow you around. And the other one has you able to capture the creatures in the wasteland and have them fight battles with each other, or something along those lines. Which Number one, I find that kind of functionality is more interesting to me than the gun, just extra weapons, although I'm sure the modders will get to it eventually and replicate it themselves. And number two, I think it's interesting that the monster thing especially is interesting because it's not like I'm really interested in battling monsters, but those kinds of videos are really popular on YouTube, right? The 4, 3, and 4 New Vegas people will find a way to battle Deathclaws versus robots or something. And I think Bethesda must have noticed how popular those are and decided to try to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's I don't play Fallout. I have very little input. But yeah, that is those are the kind of videos that people like to see, is just like emergent gameplay like that. Or not even gameplay. Like pitting AI against each other is a classic YouTube maneuver.
Absolutely.
Also, when you mentioned building your own robots, the first thing that came to mind is Katie found a mod that allows you to build your own cat.
Build my own cat?
Yeah, you can build, what is it? You make them out of what?
A milk bottle.
Yeah, you make them out of milk bottles.
And you can put them wherever you want.
Wait, you make a
cat
cat
you want.
out of milk bottles, so...
Yes.
So
but it's a cat.
Oh, okay. So
it's not like some shitty like pile of milk bottles that's shaped like a cat. It just makes a cat NPC.
It just makes a cat NPC?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know we were talking about Skyrim. Just summon a cat out of milk bottles.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I was going to say, because
Katie could talk for hours about Fallout 4 mods. She has like 75.
I haven't even dug into them, you see. That's the thing that I'm sad about, because as Katie knows, one of the most fun parts about playing Fallout on the PC is after you're done playing it vanilla, there are all these mods to discover, and I haven't finished it on vanilla yet.
Oh man. Yeah, you've got quite a world out there.
Yep. By the way, listeners, be sure to tell us what your favorite fall mod is, and also tell us what your favorite cheese is. Those two things are important to us today.
They are important. Send us an email at GameNotGameMail@gmail.com and tell us about your Fallout 4 and cheese preferences. Oh man. So are we ready to move on to the next gaming news?
Yep.
So, this is something that has been making the gaming news circuit recently that I actually witnessed live myself. Twitch streamer _happy_hobbit completed Dark Souls 1 without getting hit.
That's incredible.
The entire game. Yeah, Dark Souls is a very difficult game. There's a lot of random shit that can happen to you. And let me clarify, by not getting hit, I don't mean like he blocked all the hits. I mean, no enemy ever caused him damage or did something that he had to mitigate the damage from. He didn't block anything. He rolled through attacks. He just never took any damage. No AoE, no nothing. Nothing caused by an enemy damaged this man. And, I had been watching him for a while actually do attempts at this, and then finally I watched the run where he beat it. It was incredible, actually. Like, his previous best was like 4 bosses or so from the end. He had never made it past there, and then he just breezed through the rest of the game.
Wow.
Getting like very close a few times. It was horrifying to watch. Yeah, it is like the shit he started doing. Speedrunners have something called safe strats, right? Where you do something in a way that's not optimal but is safer. This was like the safe strat run. He wasn't trying to speedrun at all, but there was a lot of speedrun-esque things happening just by the nature of the run. So he would do things like, instead of engage like shitty level 1 enemy directly, he would like stand back and try to like shoot them with a bow or like throw a bomb at them or something. And at one point he found that he needed some items. Like, he was trying to figure out how to get through this part without getting hit, and he needed to go back to a vendor and buy something. Oh yeah, it was for an exploit on the final boss wherein you can use an item and force him to use a certain attack on you, because he sees you use the item and he's like, oh fuck, I can kill this guy now, and that forces a specific attack that you can then parry. and counterattack, and he was going back to buy one of those items, and there was just this one shitty little crossbow enemy on the way, and he walks up to it and tries to hit it, and hits the top of the doorway, which stops his attack and flings his weapon backwards. And he was just like, ah! And just rolled backwards and then like hid from it. And it's just a shitty, like it would do no damage if it hit him at all, but he can't get hit. Right. So he's just sitting there like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And the dude's just sitting there on the other end of the wall, but as soon as he walks out, it's gonna have an opportunity to attack him. And it has a crossbow, so if he just runs from it, it can shoot him in the back. So he's sitting there for a while trying to figure out what to do. He like throws fire bombs at it. It's literally like 5 minutes of fucking with this enemy right before the final boss. And he's like, fuck, dude, if I beat the final boss, this is going on the VOD. This is going on the world record VOD on YouTube. And he finally is like, just like, okay, we just gotta do it. And he runs out and hits it once. And it was so anticlimactic. And he was like, alright, we did it. We fucking did it. Oh, it was great. It was just full of tense moments like that. Not to mention, like, the actual boss fights, which are harrowing. Like, most of the time, he just kills everything from a distance or runs past it in a relatively safe way. But the boss fights, you actually have to engage them, right? And they're like, it's so easy to get hit by those bosses.
So, how long did it take him to accomplish this? Like, how long was the run?
Oh, hours. It was.
Oh no!
What was it? Was like 6 hours? Do you think the Dark Souls no hit challenge?
Probably longer than that.
Yeah,
Wow.
like 7 hours. I didn't watch the whole thing. I tuned in like right before he beat the first major hurdle in the run, which is the Ornstein and Smo fight, which for Dark Souls players, that's like infamous for being incredibly difficult. I can't believe he didn't summon anything either. Like he did it all by himself, and that's a boss that many people feel is essential to summon on. Mm-hmm. Because there's two very fast, very terrifying dudes going after you. And one fuck up and the run's over. So I tuned it like right before that, and I was like, oh, let's see if he gets past Ornstein and Smo this time, and he did. So we kept on watching, and he just didn't lose. But we were probably watching for like maybe 4 or 5 hours. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite a thing to experience. It was really just fantastically impressive Dark Souls play. So right now, that streamer is now going on to trying to do an all bosses no hit challenge.
What does that mean?
He has to kill every single boss in the game, all the optional bosses.
Oh.
In his original run, he just beat the game. But there's a lot of optional content in Dark Souls, so he's going to beat everything, all the DLC bosses. It's going to be nuts. Yeah, very, very difficult. I should also mention he limited himself further. He felt that it was too easy to just beat the game without getting hit. So he also, there's no magic allowed. He's just using a bow and a halberd and, whatever other weapons he needs to use, but mostly a halberd.
Right.
And he also is not allowed to do, like, this glitch where you quit out of the game to, wait, no, he does do that. There's a glitch he wasn't allowed to use. I can't remember what it was.
Duke skin?
No, not that one. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, he wasn't allowed to use magic, which is the way speedrunners typically beat the game. Because it makes it very easy to kill things from a distance and, like, burst down bosses really fast and avoid allowing them to hit you back. Like, there's one boss that you can just stun lock with magic. There's other bosses that just fall in a few hits to magic. But he had to actually walk up to them and hit them, which is harrowing.
So, how many people were watching him at the time he won?
At the time when he won, I think there were about 5,000 viewers.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was steadily ramping up.
Right.
Like, when we joined the stream, I think there were 2,000 or less.
So,
yeah.
I was going to say that the closest, because I don't know much about Dark Souls at all. Do you remember when Bananasaurus Rex got the eggplant run?
I do. Oh man, that was fantastic.
It's Spelunky, to be real clear.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. Challenge runs in games are like where it's at for me. I love watching that.
Yeah, I mentioned that specifically because I don't really watch these things very often, but I understand how it feels to be there at that moment when something incredible happens. Just because I remember the eggplant run, which is carrying the eggplant all the way to hell and beating Yama and Spelunky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was so I can remember how. What do the kids say? Hype that was. So I imagine
it was hype.
I imagine it must be the same for that Dark Souls.
Oh yeah, I actually like raised my arms up and was like, "Yes!" when he hit Gwyn for the last time. Like, oh, it was so exciting because right down to the final boss, it was harrowing. The final boss attacks so fast and is so difficult to avoid. And to kill him reasonably, what you really have to do is parry his attacks, which is stand there, wait for him to attack you, and then with impeccable timing hit the left trigger to knock his sword away, and then you can counter him for a bunch of damage. And that's like the only reasonable way this run was going to get done. So twice this guy just had to stand there while Gwyn attacked him, and then parry. And it just the fraction of a second off, and he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it was horrifying. And then after the two parries, Gwyn had a sliver of health left, and again it was like he had to hit him right as Gwyn was getting up, and if he fucked that up and hit too early while Gwyn was still invincible from being on the ground, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really nail biting down to the end.
What is the name of the streamer again, so that our listeners can go find him and watch more of his magic?
Yeah, if you want to see him working on his all bosses challenge, which is nuts, his channel is twitch.tv/the_happy_hobbit.
There you go.
Yeah, funny streamer. I like him as a person.
I'll check him out.
Yeah.
Okay.
He does a lot of Dark Souls. I think he's also working on beating Dark Souls 2 without getting hit, kind of interspersed with the Dark Souls 1 all bosses challenge.
Yeah.
And he'll probably play Dark Souls 3 when that comes out next month.
Next month? Wow. I did not know it was coming that soon.
Yeah, it's very soon. I can't wait.
Huh.
Dark Souls 3.
There have been a bunch of heavy sequels hitting lately. Thinking about Dark Souls 3 and then the new Hitman, and also what just came out recently? XCOM 2, yes. Just came out recently.
XCOM 2.
All very good.
Just Cause 2 or Just Cause 3 came out not too long ago.
Yeah, which I should play. I haven't gotten around to that.
Even Fallout 4 isn't
Fallout
that
4,
long ago?
yeah, absolutely.
Tons of big sequels.
Yep. So, speaking of sequels to games, how about that follow-up to RuneScape?
Oh man, I shouldn't. I don't know anything about it.
It's not a follow-up, really. Not a real follow-up, not a sequel in that sense. I was lying there.
It's not a sequel. It's an offshoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably know more about this game than I do, which is odd because I played RuneScape for 10 years. But apparently, Jagex, the developers of RuneScape, have handed over their IP to the people who made Adventure Capitalist, which is an idle game on Steam, and been like, hey, make a RuneScape one. So they're doing that, apparently. Which is weird. I looked at the cover art, and it's unrecognizable as RuneScape to me. Really, that game has transformed just in the last, God, has it been 5 years since I stopped playing? Almost, 4 years. Yeah, they've gone through some major changes. They've added pay to win. They've totally gutted their economy from what I've heard.
And now you don't even have to play the game.
And now you don't even have to play it. Now you can just play this idle game. I wonder what kind of tie-ins there will be with the MMO. Maybe you can play the idle game and earn gold that way or something.
I have no idea. This was just very recently announced, so the actual details of the gameplay are not out yet, except that it is an idle game. For those of you who are not familiar, it's a game that basically plays itself with your input every once in a while. Think Adventure Capitalists, like the developers of this new RuneScape game, or other games like even Cookie Clicker, which we will be discussing in a few minutes, probably the most famous one.
Mm-hmm. The first one, I think.
About that, it's not really the first one, and now I'm getting all pedantic here. And the reason I say this is because I actually was heavily involved in a game like that many years ago, like 2007, 2008 or something, in which the game basically played itself.
Wow.
It was a browser game, right? And it was
Interesting.
It was kind of like a Diablo-esque idle game in which the game is called Domain of Heroes, and it's defunct now, unfortunately. But you go into adventures and items drop. They have affixes, prefixes, and suffixes, just like Diablo. So that was the gameplay loop, right? You just walked away for a while and see what kind of Diablo-style items you got, right?
Oh man, that almost sounds more fun than Cookie Clicker.
It was fun, and a lot of things happened. It's one of those things in which it was a small browser-based community, and the community just died out after a while because for many reasons, really. But I think one of the reasons was that it was just not open like Cookie Clicker was, So
what do you mean by open?
Well, you have to sign in, and then there were some restrictions.
Yeah.
Like I think the biggest restriction is this, right? For a game that's literally just about the loot. You walk away, you step back, and look for loot of various tiers. You start off with 20 spaces in your inventory, and then you had to either grind or buy more, right? So so that kind of sucks, right? And I think that turned a lot of new players off, and because of that, the player base probably didn't grow as much as it could have. But
right.
I enjoyed it for what it was back then, and I think it's a good concept. I think somebody will probably do it again. There's somebody who think Diablo is an idle game, done. And then they'll do it a lot better.
Now that idle games are making their huge resurgence.
Exactly. Like, Domain of Heroes was an idle game before idle games became popular. It was before its time, really.
It was. It was the Dreamcast of idle games.
Yep. And then there's other things like, I forget what it's called. Idle Quest? No, I don't know. Like ancient, by our standards now anyway, ancient idle games. But Cookie Clicker and Candy Box, I think, to a certain degree, really made the whole thing take off.
Oh, yeah. Candy Box. I forgot about that one.
Yep, which Candy Box still exists, I think. And even
I'm
has
sure
a
it
sequel.
does, yeah. Yeah, Candy Box 2 was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, Candy Box still exists. So
yeah, our game of the week, Cookie Clicker. How many? We're down to the wire now. What's your cookies per second?
Let me just look that up real quick because I have it running in a browser window somewhere. Or I accidentally killed it. Never mind. Let me just just go back on. While we're waiting, what is your cookies per second?
Mine is 62.698 million.
62.
I realize that's unimpressive.
Yeah, even mine is not impressive. It's I'm at, jump back on here. It's in the 500 million somewhere. Yeah, 589 million cookies per second, which is not impressive. It's a funny thing to say, really.
It is. It feels like a lot of cookies at the time, but having been an avid Cookie Clicker player in the past, I know that I didn't manage to get very far. Chiefly because the heat in Katie's dorm is ridiculous. It is just on full blast all the time. Even though that makes it 80 degrees in the rooms.
Wow.
So if we leave the computer on overnight, then that makes it much more difficult to sleep because that raises the temperature another few degrees.
Right. Right.
And Cookie Clicker is a game that really requires leaving your computer on overnight. There's really no way around it.
Yeah.
Which is a weird mechanic when you think about it. Having it just needing to have this game open all the time. I guess it's probably good from an advertising perspective.
It is, and there are banner ads. They're not obtrusive, but they are there. So
I wonder if the advertisers are cognizant of the fact that people are being encouraged to just leave this window open all the time, but not in any way view their ads.
Yeah, probably not. You know.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. Like they must just be like, "Holy shit, the impressions are crazy on this website," but not realizing that probably a good 90% of those impressions are people who are not actively looking at the tab.
Yeah,
because so much of Cookie Clicker is just leave it be. Maybe glance at it for golden cookies occasionally, but just leave your house, go to bed, leave the game running at all costs.
Yep. Well, to explain, did we explain what Cookie Clicker is already?
Oh man, probably not.
So,
go ahead.
Cookie Clicker is this game in which, ostensibly, you are a bakery, right? So you start off with one cookie and you have to click it in order to get another cookie. But the cookies also serve as currency in this game, and eventually you get the ability to have the cookies click themselves. And once you do that, the game starts to run itself, right? You start collecting cookies automatically. Mm-hmm. Then you use those cookies to buy a grandmother to help you bake cookies. And then you buy a cookie farm. And it ramps up in such a way that the number of cookies you generate goes into the obscene high exponential factors, right? So I'm at 589 million. But the reason I say this is not a lot is because I already see an upgrade that's 1 quadrillion cookies for me to buy. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have to leave the game on for hours at a time, because otherwise you're just not going to get there. You need to keep buying these upgrades to get to those other upgrades.
Yeah. The way the game introduces itself is so smart, because you're like, okay, what's going on here? And it's like, hey, here's this giant cookie, click on it. And you click on it a few times, and it's like, hey, do you want to buy another mouse cursor to click for you? And you're like, fuck yeah, I do. And you're getting like 0.1 cookies per second, and it feels like, man, this is making this so much easier. And very quickly you're getting into the point where you're making hundreds of cookies a second. And by that point you're already hooked. But I love the way it introduces itself. That's one of the smartest things about Cookie Clicker to me.
Yeah.
Because at first you feel like you're just going to be clicking this cookie forever to get your upgrades, and then when you realize, like, oh shit, I can make the game work for me, it's such a good psychological trick. It's good.
I just clicked on a golden cookie, by the way. It has that.
I've been doing that throughout the podcast, just seeing golden cookies peeking up from behind my Audacity window and being like, oh, I gotta get that. Golden cookies, by the way, are cookies that give you certain special modifiers that will increase your cookies in some way. Either it will give you some percentage of your current cookies. I'm not sure what. I think it's like 2% of your current cookies. So if you've hoarded a lot, that can be really substantial. Mm-hmm. And one of them is for 77 seconds, all cookies gained are multiplied by 7. So, if you click, you get 7 times the cookies for that. Your cookies per second are multiplied by 7. So it's effectively like, gaining you a little over 6 minutes of cookie production. Mm-hmm. And then there's one that gives you a click frenzy where every click is worth 777 times.
I haven't seen that one yet, actually, come to think of it.
Oh, really? I've had a few of those. Oh. They always trick me because it does the same thing to the screen as the normal frenzy one.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, neat. And then I'm like, oh shit, I've already wasted a second of my precious click, because that shit is crazy. Like, you can get like an hour worth of cookies from that just by click as fast as you can.
This game games like this really have a hold on me somehow. It's because I'm so busy all the time, and it gives me a sense of progression, even if I know that it's not, it's the most shallow of progression, really, but it still gives me a sense of progression.
Totally.
And
yeah, it was, oh shit, I just got a clicking cookie.
There we go, you're going to hear that on the podcast. But yeah.
It illustrates the game well. Shut up. Don't judge me. I gotta get those cookies, man.
But, the other thing about the ramp up in this game is not just the cookies per second fact. It's also how it starts off very mundane. You've got a cookie and, oh good, there's a sweet grandma who helped you bake the cookie. And then it becomes this madhouse of like cookie factories and temples and portals where cookies coming out. And the grandmas have become an army of God even knows what. You know?
Yeah, the grandmas start getting their fingers into everything, man.
Yeah.
there's an upgrade to make your grandmas work at the cookie factory and in the cookie mine.
Yep, I don't even
And
recognize...
there's a plot thread that follows that I don't want to spoil, but the grandmas become very important later on.
Oh, yeah, I don't even know. I guess I have to keep playing this game.
You do. Yeah, it's very important. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I played Cookie Clicker back, when it first came out, and it's interesting comparing that to the way it is now. There are a lot more upgrades and varied things to spend your cookies on besides just like the straight, buying more factories or grandmas or whatever. And also there are more like steps. Like there didn't used to be a cookie temple or a cookie wizard tower. Was there a cookie bank? I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I imagine that there will be more stuff like that later on too. So that's fascinating seeing the changes. I'm regretful. I thought a week would be plenty of time for us to get into the late game, but without the overnight cookies, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that later on it becomes even more like insane.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
It's also one really good thing is there's a news ticker at the top of the screen.
Oh, yes.
That tells little jokes, and as you get more hey, another frenzy cookie. As you get more, what do you call them? Like different types of cookie production devices, they get more and more crazy. Like you get a portal that allows you to steal cookies from some sort of dark realm. And the thing says, scientists recommend not settling near portals. Your children will be twisted and strange inside. Or something like that. It starts getting really dark. At first it's like, everybody loves your cookies. Everybody in the whole world is eating your cookies. Grandma loves cookies. And then it's like, is our planet getting lighter? Experts examine the effects of intensive chocolate mining. I just read that one straight off the thing.
Wow.
Let's see what the next one is.
It'll all be over soon, says Grandma. That's the one that just came up for me.
Oh yeah, the grandmas like to tell puns too. Like indentured servitude. Yeah, because they wear dentures.
Yes. I think it's just fascinating. Oh, the other thing that happened for Cookie Clicker, before I forget, is that they added a prestige system sometime over the last couple of years or so. And that's become really important for incremental games of this nature, in which you can just reset everything, but there's going to be, you have some kind of bonus
with
for your
bonuses.
next run, so that they keep you just playing and addicted to your cookie. They just keep making cookies forever, but that's what they do to you.
Yep. Yeah, I did a few prestige runs back in the day.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got a few heavenly chips. I can only tell you about how it used to be. I don't know if this has changed nowadays, but there were these heavenly chips you could get based on your total number of cookies that you produced in your lifetime. And so when you reset, you would get, a proportionate number of heavenly chips, and those would boost your cookies per second with certain upgrades. Like there would be new upgrades available, like, increases your cookies per second by 1% per heavenly chip or something like that. So they would pretty quickly start spiraling your cookies and like getting you through the progression quicker. Like instead of taking a week to get to a portal, you could do it in a day. If you had a decent number of heavenly chips, because they just sped things up so much.
I probably should do that at some point so that I can get to the quote-unquote end game content faster.
Yeah, I don't know when I would recommend doing it. Probably, at least after you have a few quadrillion. You can check. There's a place to check like how good your prestige is going to be. I think it's in the stats. So you can look at your prestige stats and see how your cookie clicking is going.
Right.
What a game! What a strange thing.
Yeah, it's really strange, but at the same time, this genre of game has blossomed. If you remember during the Steam
like
summer
a beautiful
sale,
flower.
Yeah, like a beautiful cookie sugar induced flower. You remember during the Steam Summer Sale 2015, they had an incremental game going.
They did.
Yeah.
I played it surprisingly little. I think at that point I was burned out. I had played a few different ones, and I was like, I don't feel like playing this one.
I wanted to play it, but the Steam servers could not handle the influx of players coming in to play the game, so I just couldn't play it because it was broken all the time.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Man, that's really unfortunate.
So, that is our game of the week. Do you have anything to say about Cookie Clicker?
Click a lot of cookies in that game. Actually, surprisingly few. Really. Like, you have the option. I could probably increase my CPS by, 30-40% by clicking as fast as I possibly can, but the repetitive strain injury is not worth it. So I spend very little time actually clicking the cookie. But you can click a substantial number of cookies by clicking.
Yep, which
if you want to.
I
used to have a mouse key set up where if you set up mouse keys in Windows, this is my hot tip for clicker games. You can the number pad acts as mouse buttons, and so the 5 is click, and then the plus button on the side is double click. So if you put your index finger on the 5 and your middle finger on the plus, then you can do 3 clicks at once effectively. And then if you do that and also click your mouse, you can do 4 clicks at once, kind of, but it's really hard to do all of that at once. But that was my strat for if I got a frenzy cookie or something, I would take full advantage of it by doing that.
Well, there you have it. Pro strats for Cookie Clicker, only on Game Not Game.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. So, I think we are at the end of the podcast. Next week's game is going to be the new incremental game, Parmesan Shaver. No, I'm kidding. What's next week's game going to be?
Parmesan Shaver. It's going to be a game called Super Hot, which sounds super interesting. You should pick it up on Steam. It's just coming out. Gosh, I hope it's coming out this week. I don't know the release date.
25th, I think, I want to say. The 25th of February.
The 25th of February. That does sound right. It's really neat. It's a game where it's a first-person shooter where time only progresses when you yourself are moving. So, it's a very tactically interesting first-person shooter with a lot of dodging bullets and neat stuff like that. Looks really neat. We haven't played it yet, but we're gonna play it, and we'll talk about it next week. If you want to join in on the discussion, you should play it too, and we can all talk about it together. Email us your thoughts on Super Hot if you have time before the podcast is recorded on Thursday, and we might read out your email. GameNotGameMail@gmail.com.
Yep. Also email us your favorite cheese. Yes, do that.
And email us your favorite cheese and your favorite Fallout 4 mod.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
And your cookies per second.
That's a lot of homework, guys. Get on it.
It is. Get on it. Also, if you like Game Not Game, make sure to, get involved in local politics. Write your senator. Tell them that you want this to continue. Tell them you want us on iTunes.
Oh my god.
We'll see you guys next week. Oh, also, check out my co-conspirator Zen at his channel, youtube.com/Zen and Cyrene. He plays all kinds of silly games. We play Binding of Isaac together over there, including this week. There will be a link to that in the description. Go check it out. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Be sure to write to Standard Republican leader Mitch McConnell and tell him all about the cheese issue and how it's so important that America's cheese gets protected and that America's cookie GDP is way too low. It should be at least 1 quadrillion per second. Do that. And also check out Bean's other content as well. Be sure to subscribe to him while you're over here. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.